All right, everybody, welcome to Talking Taker, our one-year anniversary special, episode 52 of our encyclopedic exploration, digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time. We thank all of you out there, all of our fellow creatures of the night, for joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking. My name is Alex Dorio, of course, one of your co-hosts, at Alex Dorio on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I am joined, as always, by my best friend, my buddy, my wrestling buddy, my fellow creature of the night, Mr. Travis White, on the line on Skype. And Travis, we are about to kick off the deadly game tonight. And my man, you keep playing games with me. You were hanging out with Vince Russo a couple weeks ago, and this past week, you've been flirting with Tony Schiavone, with Bruce Pritchard, Conrad Thompson. What's the deal, man? What are these games that you're playing with me? Are we going to do another year of Talking Taker? Are you jumping off, just join Conrad for another show? What's going on?
I'm trying to build the brand, man. I'm trying to build the brand. Yes, sure. I did have an appearance. My name in my question had an appearance on the Something to Wrestle from, which one was that? That was, SummerSlam 97, yeah. I had asked about the ending of that main event, and if it was a Pat Patterson special, and Bruce said, absolutely. So, yeah, and then Tony Schiavone called me because it's your fault, Tony called me. You bought me a full-arm Dragon Twist t-shirt for my birthday. So 3.5 months later, Tony finally called, and it was really cool to talk to him, man. It's been really, I've been cheating on you on podcast world with a lot of big-name guys, so... Well, hopefully we get Talking Taker out there, and our numbers have gone up since I was on Russo, so that's pretty cool. I want to appreciate all our fans. It's been a year we've been doing this. I can't believe it's 52 weeks. It's crazy, which means we've done over 52 matches because we've done a video set that has multiple matches. We've done Royal Rumble. We've had tonight we're going to do multiple matches on this one. So yeah, it's crazy, but we covered 8 years in Undertaker's career, from Survivor Series 90 to here we are in 98. So, time flies, man.
It does. And as you said, this is a special 2-for-1 special here on Undertaker matches on Talking Taker. The Purple Light special, I guess. I don't know. Because not to spoil anything, but hopefully you're watching along with us. But The Undertaker is going to be in the Deadly Game tournament for the WWF Championship at Survivor Series, and he's going to move on to have 2 matches in the tournament. So we're going to double up here and cover both of those. Of course, we started this podcast a year ago with the intention of going through every single Undertaker pay-per-view match, one match at a time. But, when he's in 2 matches on one pay-per-view, it just makes sense to throw them in there together on one episode.
Oh, yeah, people wouldn't have got their money's worth if we split them up because their matches are like 6-minute songs.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
If we'd have done one today and one next week, it would have been next week would have been like 4 minutes. Yeah.
Hey, we don't want to do that to you. Yeah, we want to give you your money's worth, even when it's free.
Exactly.
Get the value out of it.
Exactly.
And we do.
$3.99.
We said it a couple weeks ago on our 50th episode, but we just appreciate every single one of you out there who's listening, every one of you who has retweeted, who has liked, who has shared, who has spread the word about Talking Taker. Means the world to us, and we thank you for following along with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Talking Taker, and all the different profiles out there. We've got some tweets I'm going to read later on. We love to interact with everybody about these shows. We love hearing your comments on them, and it's fun. It's fun out there on all the social media. So if you're not following us on all of them, we do post different content out there on all the different platforms. So unless you're Twitterless Travis and you refuse to follow us.
I'm on Facebook, though.
You are, man. Instagramless Travis, too, but that doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, it's not as cool. So.
But
it's cool.
Back in 1998, of course, there was no Twitter, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was just America Online and Netscape, Netgear.
Netscape Navigator, yeah, I remember using that at middle school. Phew.
And that's the world we're traveling back to as we gas up the old time traveling hearse and travel back to October of 1998, where we're going to kick off the build-up to Survivor Series 1998. And we last left off on our last episode with the WWF Championship again in limbo, in abeyance, however you want to say it. It's continued to be held up after Undertaker and Kane went to a no contest, and Stone Cold, the special guest referee, somehow won the match, according to himself. But unfortunately for Stone Cold, he did run amok of Vince McMahon's stipulations and was fired at the end of Judgment Day, which doesn't do us any good for the WWF Championship, but we're going to try to address that here on the Raw after Judgment Day, October 19th, 1998. So let's pick up with what's going on in the world of Undertaker and Kane right here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I don't have this in my notes, but I was just off the top of my head when you said that, the title's been held up again. That's 2 months, basically, because it's not going to get settled until we get to the pay-per-view here. So 2 months at the height of the Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars, they're competing, going back and forth in ratings, WCW and WWF. They don't even have a champion.
Right.
So how crazy is that?
I think Michael Cole mentions on the pay-per-view that it's the longest there's ever been without a champion up to that point. I don't know if it's been longer since then, but they said it was up to this point.
Yeah, it's just really neat that, they didn't even care at the height of the Attitude Era because everything they did was working. And we'll see, a statistic later on in one of these episodes of Raw about the ratings and stuff. So, but anyway, this Raw, we're here. The show this is Raw 282 on October 19th, so the night after Judgment Day. So the show opens, we got music playing. It's horrible, like carnival music, and then this confetti's falling, black balloons. Was that Goo Goo Dolls song big at this point, or was that not yet?
It was probably right around that time.
Yeah, this was the time when Iris was popular. I remember that song was popular in '98.
It's the same album, I think.
Sure, they could have played Black Balloon at this point. So anyway,
Dizzy Up the Girl.
Yeah, exactly. And literally every single WWF wrestler, not superstar, makes their way to the ring. But noticeably absent are our demonic duo here, the Brothers of Destruction.
They were in the back listening to Goo Goo Dolls.
They must have been bumping up later. So, in a serious note, I do want to mention, though, our condolences to Jerry Lawler, because Brian Christopher is one of the first people you see walking down to the ring here. And the King has been a huge part of this podcast the last, 14, 25 episodes. He's been in our ears and in our minds. And so he's going to be going forward. So we just want to wish him and his family well, going forward. So that's, it's kind of all we need to say about that, I guess. So.
Yeah,
you got anything to say?
I really loved Brian Christopher. I always thought he was really underrated. I mentioned a couple weeks ago on the show, I was kind of a mark for too much.
Yes, you were.
Before they were too cool, and everybody loved Too Cool during the Attitude Era. They were they were the coolest. they were cheesy and goofy, but you loved them. And Brian Christopher was always a great talent. And I mean, no one should leave this world the way that he did. It's a real travesty, tragedy, and a shame. And of course, our condolences go out to the King and to all of Brian Christopher's family and fans. Of course, it's just a shame. It happens too much, especially in the wrestling business. So it's a shame.
And you know what else is a shame is that apparently Vince McMahon, so he comes out here in this ring and he's going to talk about how at Survivor Series is going to be a 16-man tournament, one-night tournament, which according to Pritchard, literally every time they talk about it on their podcast, he says how Vince hates tournaments, which is why they got rid of King of the Ring. So I was, knowing that in hindsight now, going back, it's weird that he would put, one of the big 5 pay-per-views or big 4, whatever, as this, going to do this tournament. But it's cool. Yeah, I dig it. It's a really cool show, the way it's going to wind up. But anyway, he says they're going to crown the undisputed WWF champion. So does that throw a wrench into Chris Jericho's claim to being the first?
I could. That's right. He needs to go back and watch this.
He does. So, he's, he announces that and basically he doesn't name anybody that's going to be in it, but you can pretty much tell. And then there's some people who you can't tell are going to be in it, but we'll mention them later on. But basically, there's a thread throughout the night, and I'll let you take it from here about what the thread is of this story throughout the night. So,
of course, if you remember things and you were watching it this time, this is the infamous episode of Raw where Austin is fired, but he shows up to the arena going hunting for Vince McMahon. He's got his hunting knife, and he ends up with a gun as well, and there are just countless vignettes and backstage scenes as Austin ends up kidnapping Vince McMahon, and this is where we end the show in the ring with Austin and McMahon, and Austin pointing a gun to Vince McMahon's head, making him beg for his life, squeal like a pig, and when he goes to shoot the gun, the flag comes out that says "Bang 316," and Vince McMahon pees his pants to end an episode of Raw.
Yeah, he does his best Miles Davis impersonation. You know, they say if you want to be peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis. That's exactly. A little Billy Madison quote there. So yeah, it's so weird. Like, ugh. Anyway.
Yeah, we don't need to spend too much talking about it. I'm sure a lot of people love it. I think this is one of their favorite Attitude Era moments. I think for me and you both, it's not ours. Yeah. I think, and not begrudging anybody that enjoys it. I mean, everybody's got their different tastes. For me, I think it takes it too much to a cartoonish level. And I know some of our listeners will be like, "Well, you're talking about the Undertaker." Of course, yes. And again, we just go there with The Undertaker. I'm fine with going there with The Undertaker.
It's fine. Yeah.
And I'm fine going there with Austin sometimes, too. Like, the past 2 weeks, he's been driving a Zamboni and driving a cement truck. And I'm good with that. I'm good with him torturing Vince McMahon by destroying his property and destroying his car and interrupting moments on Raw. It's another level where he's threatening him with a gun. And also we're just, it's all to get to a point where Mr. McMahon pees his pants. I mean, how that's childish can you get? It's Vince and Austin have basically turned into Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd at this point, and I don't know. There's still some great Austin McMahon moments to come, but this one, not my favorite.
Oh yeah, me neither. So, but yeah, that's a thread through this show, just to get you guys, they're listening. If you remember that show, that's what show we're on. So. But later on, dealing with Taker, he comes out to a pretty good pop still, even though, he's reunited with Bear the night before. And I mean, he's got Paul Bear by his side, and he's got that cloak on that has the high collar, but it's folded down. But we haven't seen it in a little while. But Paul Bear, for the first time, in 2 years, walking out with him. So that's kind of a big deal.
Since last summer, 97. They were together for a little bit, mid-97.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot.
Yeah, controlling him, using him, whatever. I don't know. So, it's a sight to see. It's the first time they've been on the same page in a long time.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Well, Taker cuts a pretty crazy promo here, and we get the first utterances of some words that are going to be a very important part of this podcast for the next few weeks of episodes, as The Undertaker says that
Brother Paul has come home to lead my ministry of darkness. And I'm sure that there's those who can't understand because they have no vision how I could align myself once more with such a despicable, evil, maniacal individual. Well, if those aren't reasons enough, I don't guess I can explain it any better.
The first time we hear The Undertaker utter that phrase that will go on to define the next 7 or 8 months of his career.
Yeah, and I think you and I both say that this particular incarnation of Undertaker is probably my least favorite. The Ministry of Darkness leader guy, but we'll see. It'll be nice to relive it coming up here. But,
that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm ready to view it with different lens and see how it holds up 20 years later, because in 99, I don't have such super fond memories of a lot of stuff from 1999. I know it's obviously one of the most popular years, but I remember really loving 98, really loving 2000, and 99 being a little too much for me. But I mean, I'm willing to give it a second chance. That's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself, so that'll be stupid. But anyway, it's cool, man. He says, Ministry of Darkness, and then he goes on and says, I'm sure that there's those who can't understand because they have no vision. How could I align myself with such a despicable, evil, maniacal individual? And if those aren't reasons enough, I don't guess I can explain it any better. And the whole time he's doing that, Paul Bearer is just over there grinning like an idiot. Like he's soaking up like these negative attributes that Undertaker's talking about him. So
Yeah.
I love seeing Bearer back. So looking smug.
We're seeing Undertaker focused on success, focused on winning back the WWF Championship, becoming the most powerful person. And that's sort of an evolution we've seen since really like early 97 when he first kind of started cutting promos about that. So that thread, they continue to play into that, and I appreciate that. Undertaker says, Paul Bearer has allowed me to clear my head, refocus on what it is that I'm here for. He goes on to say, now, what we have here is the beginning of a new era. We will unleash our Ministry of Darkness, which is going to be a plague, which the WWF has never seen, nor will it ever be understood amongst those who do not relish in the darkness. And those of you who do not declare shall be declared. So,
What happened there?
Kicked his leg out of his leg. That
Exactly.
sort of promo.
Yeah, one of those promos. It was almost like Bray Wyatt 12 years beforehand. Yeah, it was. I don't know what he meant by that, but anyway, we'll see what it means to declare or not declare. Stay tuned.
It will not be undeclared.
Exactly. Oh, but then Paul Bearer gets on the stick and he's like, "Kane, I used you, boy." So yeah, he talks about how he took care of Kane like a pet, like a little dog on a leash. And he kind of had the final straw because he says Kane was weak and stupid and you can't even speak for yourself. And you turned your back on me twice, and once was 8 weeks ago. And then last night you turned on me, and he says he'll never have any use for him ever again. And since he doesn't understand the darkness. So pretty bold words and pretty quick change of pace for Paul Bearer's mind. You know?
Yeah. I don't really know if they really... I buy Undertaker's reasoning.
Yes.
Paul Bearer's reasoning is a little bit questionable here, but we'll go with it. Because then Undertaker is going to drop a huge bombshell here when he basically admits, after all this time, to being the one that set the fire at the funeral home. He tells Kane to listen close.
I set that fire. What? And I set it because you were weak as a child. And you're weak now. And we have no room for the weak. Only the strong shall survive.
After all this time of Paul Bearer calling him a liar, of Kane coming after him, Undertaker finally admits that, yep, it was I who did it, which is crazy. That's crazy new road for Undertaker to travel down. That's definitely going to turn him heel.
Absolutely, and basically just admitted to attempted homicide on national television. So they should have got those cops and those canines to come arrest him. But
you think so?
Yeah, but yeah, in all seriousness, so like that's a new chapter in this book, man. That Undertaker's writing, a whole new story because he's admitting to try to kill his brother as a child. So yeah, I'd say he's a heel at this point, even though he still gets kind of mixed reactions for a while. He'll turn full heel soon, but yeah, it's pretty big deal to admit that. So, and then
basically they're gonna kind of start. So they were kind of teasing a little bit in the match last night, but they're gonna start the process of turning Kane babyface here. Yeah,
he comes out with a triple deep, triple wide casket.
It's enormous.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So, and he says, if you will allow me, he says, "You and I tonight, casket match. And brother, you will rest in peace." Although I will admit, the little voice modulator doesn't do so well in the first sentence he says. It's a little bit off. You can kind of hear Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah, he didn't have it tuned in the right way. I don't know how it works, but
I hope he uses that in Knoxville when he's and now that he's mayor. What if he uses that thing to speak with? Oh.
He just doesn't keep kayfabe anymore, man.
Exactly. But anyway, I wanted to say that, he comes out with this huge casket. So that means he's waiting backstage, speaking of kayfabe, with a giant casket. No matter what Undertaker's going to say, he was going to come out with this giant casket, I guess. So.
Well, that's where Undertaker lived, we found out.
That's true.
Way back when Diesel destroyed his home back there. So maybe
very true.
That's what Kane travels in. I don't know.
Very true. Very true.
That's a great point. He had to make sure to ship that casket to wherever this episode of Raw was.
Yeah.
And they do have our first ever casket match on free TV. Is
Yeah,
on this
big deal.
episode of Raw. Yeah, huge deal. It's been saved for pay-per-view all these times.
We think it's a big deal until we see what actually happens.
Yeah, it is just 5 minutes of a whole lot of nothing, really. There's not even much to talk about. They both end up going in the casket, and I think the big thing they were trying to go for, they thought it'd be really cool for them to both be fighting in the casket and sort of fight out of it, kick through the walls and the doors of it. But it just kind of looks awkward and strange as they kick through it and bust out of it. And then they don't really know what to do from there.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is kind of cursed from the beginning because Undertaker hits a clothesline and then goes for a pinfall.
Yeah, he does.
In the ring, and I was like, whoops. But then, like you said, when they both get in the casket, you can literally hear Undertaker out loud say to Jimmy Corderas and Tim White, "Let it close." And when he and Kane fall, they just hold the thing open. So you see him reach up with his hand and pull the lid down. So this thing was, as they say, snake bit from the get go. So then they bust out of it and they just kind of fight for a second, and then Kane chases Paul Bearer up the aisle, and then as he's staring at himself walking up the aisle on the Titantron, and you see Undertaker running up behind him with a chair, you see Undertaker hit him, but I'm like, Kane was just looking at the Titantron. Why didn't he see Undertaker behind him attack him? He should have turned around. But anyway, I have no idea what happened.
Well, he can only see out of one eye.
That's true. It's true. My bad. My apologies, Kane. So, yeah, but the crowd boos all this as they head backstage. They want to see a casket match, so it's kind of a waste of time. So
it is, and unfortunately, the Kane-Undertaker feud is kind of running out of steam here. They've been fighting all year, and this is they're going to fight again at Survivor Series, and again, it's going to kind of lack the same luster that it's had some of these other times. So yeah, this was just a weird waste of time on this, and it didn't really lead to anything. So odd booking here, odd moment in there that could have been something cool, but unfortunately, not much to it besides that. So we're gonna jump ahead in the build up to. Let's touch on Raw the next week on October 26th. Just another small little thing in here as we find out that Kane has officially been entered into the Deadly Game tournament on this episode of Raw. We don't know who he's going to face quite yet at this point. This is, of course, the famous Raw where Motley Crue performs.
And Test is a roadie, isn't he?
This is where Test debuts.
Yeah.
And they got the rights to Motley Crue, but we don't have the rights to Highway to Hell. Really?
Oh, something's wrong there.
Seriously.
Nobody needs Tommy Lee.
I'd rather not need Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Unfreaking believable.
Is what it is.
Kane is going to end up fighting Gangrel on this episode of Raw, which is, it just made me wonder. I mean, it's kind of a shame we never got an Undertaker Gangrel feud.
Yeah,
that could have been kind of cool. I mean, Gangrel, he was.
I loved it.
I loved it too. He wasn't a great wrestler, but the Brood and the bloodbaths and everything, it was awesome.
And the entrance is the best, and that entrance music, man. It sounded like NBA Jam at the beginning when it started out. Dun, 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 dun. That was the same music from NBA Jam. But anyway, that entrance with the fire and everything, it was so good.
There was nothing cooler, dude.
No, nothing at all. Plus, Edge and Christian were awesome. Everybody loved them. So, this is the night where Edge turns and joins Gangrel and Christian to form the Brood. He beats down Kane. So, again, we're touching on Kane because he's going to be an opponent at Survivor Series. But then also Shane is revealed to have hired back Steve Austin this night. And that only matters because of the pay-per-view. It's the only reason I want to mention it because stuff that happens at Deadly Games pay-per-view. So, and then by the end of that night, we find out that Rock, Shamrock, Kane, Al Snow, and Mankind are all in the Deadly Games tournament. So, yes, I did say Al Snow.
So there's some questionable entries into this tournament, a few other ones that we'll get to along the way. But just an interesting stat about this episode of Raw, probably more interesting than anything that happened on it, is that this episode of Raw on October 26th is the last time that Raw ever lost to Monday Nitro in the head-to-head ratings war. So this is it's not the end of 83 weeks. The end of 83 weeks happened back in April, But they
Right.
traded some wins back and forth, as we've mentioned. But this one right here is going to be the last one. And did you look up what was on that episode of Nitro? I didn't see what
I
was.
did, but I didn't write it down in my notes. I looked it
Yeah.
up and saw. I can't remember what it was though, off the top of my head. But
Was
yeah, it
this the
was.
one
I mean,
where they showed the Halloween Havoc main event? Goldberg DDP?
I think that was the week before that beat. Or maybe no. I guess it would have been. I don't know. Maybe been this one. I can't remember. But yeah, one of these right in here. They showed the Halloween Havoc match. Goldberg DDP. But yeah, I wish I had that in my notes. But anyway.
But it's just an interesting, like we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about the state of the business right now, on this show as we've gone through the different episodes. So again, the WWF is surging at this point. Stone Cold is on fire. The feud with Mr. McMahon's on fire. And as we've talked about, Undertaker and Kane is an underrated part of that. It's been a huge thread going on, especially on Monday Night Raw. It's been the main B story here. And of course, The Rock is taken off too. We can't discredit that. But, the Undertaker and Kane are right in there, a major part of the WWF surge and dominance and putting WCW out of business.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I'm looking up the main event of Nitro that night was Booker T and Lex Luger, and then they recapped the Piper Hogan confrontation from Halloween Havoc. So yeah, I don't blame people for not watching.
Yeah, well, it was not a great episode of Raw, all things considered. But I tell you what, the next week on Sunday Night Heat, we get something quite memorable happening that we get to talk about on this.
Oh, goodness, man. This is Heat, episode 14. November 1st, 98. The main event of Heat is, once again, the Godfather, Charles Wright, in a different moniker here as the Godfather versus the Undertaker. So I did not see that coming.
What a match. One of the most storied rivalries. I didn't realize.
I know.
Had so many matches against each other. And I love these episodes of Heat where the main event happens and you look at the timestamp and there's about 3 minutes left on the episode.
Yeah.
But, man, this is right in the midst of the Godfather doing his gimmick where he will offer his ladies to his fellow performer to try to get out of the match. And, he knows The Undertaker well, the Godfather says. He says,
"But I know you too, man. I've known you for a long time, and I know that you like hoes."
Wow. Well, now, wait a minute.
Don't make me go back to dates, because you know you like hoes.
to The Undertaker, which is
something I would never think to say.
Undertaker's just giving him the death stare the whole time. His Godfather tries to talk him into this, and he says, Undertaker, if you want to show the world that not everything is dead about you, you could take my offer here. So, implying that The Undertaker needs Blue Chew.
No, whoa, were they a sponsor?
They're not our sponsor. Not yet.
Oh, but speaking of that, Undertaker just starts having a blast and just goes going nuts at Godfather here. So, yeah, I didn't intend to pun that there, but I had that in my notes that way. So, but he starts
sets
attacking
him off. Yeah,
exactly. He starts attacking the referees and goes to Tombstone the Godfather, and then Kane's music hits, and as Heat's going off, Kane's apparently taking a page out of Sting's book, and he's in the rafters as fire shoots out of the ring post. So why?
Why is he in the rafters?
I have no idea.
Why did he have a casket 2 weeks ago? Why is he in the rafters? I don't know.
See, when Sting was in the rafters, it made sense storyline wise. He wasn't with WCW. He wasn't with NWO. He was his own his own island. But this doesn't make any sense. But it makes a cool visual, at least.
It does,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to take us to the next night on Raw, November 2nd, as we continue to build up to the pay-per-view.
This is Kane's night. This is Kane's night.
This is the Kane
Raw.
show. This is an episode of Raising Kane right here.
Exactly. Go ahead.
That's what he's going to be doing all night long. This is the Vince Russo special that we've seen so many times where Undertaker or Kane is going to interrupt 10 different matches on this night. He delivers chokeslams to DX, delivers chokeslams to the Brood. He delivers a choke slam to a real man's man, Steven Regal. Gives a choke slam to Goldust. Tries to choke slam a quote-unquote pregnant Terry Runnels, but thinks better of it and then gives a choke slam to Tony Garea instead.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Tony Garea always deserves a choke slam.
Oh, yeah. I'd choke slam if I saw him.
Gives one to the Headbangers, to Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown. He's giving out choke slams like they're going out of style.
Oh, yeah. He's handing them out, man. Just anybody that wants one or doesn't want one, he's just getting them. Yeah, interrupting so many matches. And, at one point when he comes down for that Headbangers and D'Lo and Henry match, JR says he's got no mentor, he's got no leader. So, implying that he's unhinged now. He's unleashed. He has no one to wrangle him in like Paul Bearer did. So, but he's definitely on a tear in this episode, man. And one thing I do want to point out, too, is that we actually see a graphic for the Deadly Games tournament. And it's actually only a 14-man tournament now. So Kane and Undertaker have been given a bye into the quarterfinals so that they will face each other in the quarterfinals that night. So I guess it's because they both kind of got screwed out of the title twice maybe. So
Right, That's the storyline explanation for it, which I buy that.
It makes sense.
Back at WrestleMania 4, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant got a bye to the second round of that tournament because they were kind of the last two to hold the title, so they're a little nod to that. And also, you got a 16-man tournament on a pay-per-view, and back then they were only doing 3-hour pay-per-views, so they're trying to condense things as well and have a few less matches. So it makes sense logistically why they would do that as well. Yeah,
it takes 2 matches off the pay-per-view card, exactly. Which they need to take some more off, but we'll get to that in a minute. So.
And this episode of Raw ends with a pretty cool segment here.
Yeah.
Where a cage comes down and the Big Boss Man ends up in the ring along with the Stooges inside the cage. And this is going to lead to Vince McMahon sort of directing the Big Boss Man to punish the Stooges as part of what happened when Vince McMahon got kidnapped a few weeks ago. He thought the Stooges let him down and didn't protect him during that time. So Big Boss Man beats them up for a long time, ends up ripping their clothes off at one point, which is awkward.
Yeah, Vince orders him to. It's weird. Yeah.
He's probably just ribbing Patterson and Briscoe.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't tell him that was going to happen.
There's no way.
Austin finally comes out to go after the Big Boss Man. This brawl with Big Boss Man with Austin. Shane McMahon comes in there as well. Vince McMahon calls the Big Boss Man off when Shane is in there. And Austin's kind of left for dead when The Undertaker and Paul Bearer come out to pick over his bones.
Yeah, because you think Shane is on Vince's side because he winds up flicking off Vince, and then, Taker comes out and he and Bearer are going to enter the cage, and Vince, it's a close-up on Vince, and he grabs Boss Man and says, "Stay with me." So he's so good, man. Yeah. He's so good. Yeah, and he Taker enters the cage, and he slams the door shut behind him, which is a cool, just shows how intent he is on getting back at Austin for screwing him out of the title. So they battled back and forth for longer than I thought that I remembered when I watched this back. And JR reminds us again that Taker's angry, and then all of a sudden the lights go out, and we know that's Kane's music hitting. And at this point, I think Lawler understands what's happening. Because, we talked about in previous episodes, anytime the lights go out and the music hits, Lawler's always like, who is that?
What's going on?
He's got it down now. But a cool thing that King does say, he says, who's he coming for? Which is actually a good question because he's been brutalizing everyone this night. So actually, I did want to give kudos to King for that comment. So Kane comes up on the steps, and Taker and Austin are kind of looking at him and waiting for him, and Kane raises his hands and brings him down like he does to bring the fire out of the post. And instead of that, we get fire on each side of the ring cage. Really cool visual, man.
Really cool.
Yeah, I'd forgotten.
I didn't remember that at all, and it was really, really neat. Really cool way to end the show there, to set the cage on fire. It's obviously not completely on fire, but some parts of it are on fire. Really cool special effect there, and there's also some good. They have the extra attitude on the network, and Stone Cold, after the show goes off the air, he just beats up Vince McMahon for about 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
after the cameras are off, which is
and the wheelchair.
Always fun to see. Yep. But another.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was like, again, this Kane and Taker are just parts of this bigger storyline. They're parts of the Austin McMahon thing, so it's
They are.
obvious here. But it is crazy. The crowd is in an absolute frenzy when all three of the guys start brawling. So that's cool to see. The crowd is just, they love all this. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see our boys here kind of just taking a back seat to this overarching storyline. So
It is, and we'll get into it more on the pay-per-view a little bit. But another thing, real quick, I wanted to mention on this episode of Raw, we keep talking about historic moment week after week after week. All these things that you remember, whether it's Austin and the Gun or the Zamboni or the cement truck. This episode of Raw right here, we see the debut of the Hardcore title. Vince McMahon gifts it to Mankind, and of course, the Hardcore title is going to have quite the legacy over the next 4 years. Only existed for 4 years, but a lot of memories made during that, and it's going to be a part of the Undertaker story as well. So here's the debut of it on this episode of Raw.
there you go. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get to that in 2001, I think, right?
That's right.
When he becomes the Hardcore champion. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm excited to get to that stuff because that was a weird time in his career too. I enjoyed it though. But yeah,
I did too. I thought he had a great run with that. It's going to be fun to watch some of those matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, man, I wish we'd gotten to see a real X-Pac and Undertaker match, too, which we get a little tease for on Heat and on Raw. And, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Heat 15 on November 8th said, X-Pac's supposed to face Regal, but Taker and Bear come out, and Bear's like, well, what do we have here, X-Pac? And I suggest you stand back and little boy because my Undertaker has a few words, and then X-Pac snatches the mic out of his hand.
Dude, Paul Bear looked like someone just stole his corn dog when X-Pac stole that mic. He was so upset.
Or his plate of 4 brownies from catering.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was angry that day, and he says he respects Taker, but he's gonna whip Bear, And Taker attacks X-Pac and choke slams him and says, and then I guess we'll just talk about this later, little boy, is what Paul Bear says in his face, and Michael Cole's putting over how dark Taker is now and how much darker he is now that he's realigned with Bear. So it's kind of cool. And then the next night on Raw, Raw 285 on November 9th, the show opens with that match, X-Pac and Undertaker. I just thought it's amazing that these guys have been in the same company. Well, X-Pac left for a cup of coffee in WCW, but but still. These guys were around the New Generation era, and I don't remember us covering them interacting at all.
I don't think so, and I don't know if they do in the future. I hope so, man, because they only wrestled for about a minute here, but I loved seeing Undertaker toss X-Pac around for a minute. He just heaves him into the corner, and X-Pac sells huge for him. I think I don't know if they ever did have an extended match, but they could have had some good chemistry together, and X-Pac, to me, is just super underrated anyway. I think he's long overdue for the Hall of Fame. He's an incredible performer, and I just think incredibly underrated as well. So hope to see him go in there one day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I know in 2001 he got that X-Pac heat, and it was
sure.
I even gave him that too. But,
no doubt.
But looking back, man, I appreciate his whole entire body of work, man, from 92 or whatever to current stuff. He's great.
Except for the X Factor. I don't appreciate that at all.
Right.
The faction. Not the move. Exactly. The faction.
Yeah. Aside from that, I appreciate all of it. So, but yeah, it's just weird. But yeah, like you said, matches like 20 seconds long or a minute. I don't even know. It's way short. But Kane's music comes on, and he comes out, and you can tell he's got something going on in his hand there.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's weird. He's awkwardly holding his hand as he comes out. I thought he had his voice box in his hand at first, but he's got another different toy.
He keeps that in his waistband, remember?
Oh, yeah.
We saw that.
Should have known that. Well, this sets up, and it's really awkwardly done once they get in the ring here, too. Undertaker is kind of holding X-Pac in front of him, and Kane stands there for a long time before finally throwing a fireball, and they're trying to make it look like that Kane's trying to hit Undertaker, but ends up hitting X-Pac in the face instead. But the way that they do it, like Undertaker has to stand there forever holding X-Pac.
Yeah.
And it's just Kane he aims it straight at X-Pac. Man, they can't frame it to where it looks like he's trying to hit Undertaker. It's supposed to be an accident, but it just doesn't come off all that well, unfortunately.
Yeah, again, man, they should just let the fire in the ring go because we had that, snafu with Mankind and the
It
Flash
never
paper and
works.
stuff. Yeah, and obviously on WCW at Halloween Havoc, just a week before this or whatever, 2 weeks before this,
Oh,
we
yeah.
had a horrible snafu with Hogan and
Oh,
Warriors.
God. They should have learned from that.
Exactly. So yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, it hits X-Pac in the eye, I guess you could say. But I don't know. But the most notable thing for me, I noticed in this whole thing, is that Taker leaves up the ramp and Kane is pursuing him, and Taker is backing away off the ramp. He's not walking up with Kane behind him. He's actually backing away. So kind of cowering. Like, I don't ever think we've seen him do that before. I mean, even when he was started out as a heel, he never cowered from anybody. That was what set him apart from everybody else. So this is definitely a heel guy. So.
Yeah, he's playing into that like he never has before. Very interesting twist there, and I think we'll see some more of that as we go forward.
Well, so, you talked a little earlier, speaking about going forward, Edge and the Brood comes out with Kane, and so Edge is flanked by the Brood, and Kane is flanked by gasoline and a blowtorch. So how's that for a couple managers? But yeah, later on, and this ends in the DQ and the Brood interferes. But I just want to say that you were talking about earlier about Austin, trying to kill McMahon and like torture him and stuff, and he's the babyface. Well, here, Kane lays the Brood and a referee on like in a pile in the middle of the ring and douses them with gasoline and is going to try to light them on fire. And the crowd is booing because they didn't get to see quadruple homicides. This is weird. So
We really should start making a tally of how many attempted murders we've seen, because there's some more coming up going forward.
Oh yeah. Well,
We've only scratched the surface.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're getting some next month for sure. But immediately after this, Kane choke slams this quote unquote fan who looks like Brendan Fraser from Encino Man. I mean, he looks just like him.
It might have been.
It could have been, yeah. But yep, we got that's about it. So you got Deadly Games, more set up for that and everything. And they're basically, in my opinion, setting up 5 believable winners with the stories they're telling. You got Austin, Rock, Mankind, Kane, and Taker. Those are the only 5 that could possibly win this thing. So,
You don't think a real man's man, Steven Regal, had a chance?
nope. I love him. Nope. Or Al Snow, or X-Pac,
Gold Dust?
or Goldust, or the mystery entrant we're going to find out.
Mystery entrant, Big Boss Man. Yeah, and that's kind of what we're getting at here. Again, we're talking Taker, but yeah, it's really, you mentioned the top 5, but honestly, it really feels like Austin, Rock, and maybe Mankind.
Maybe Mankind, yeah.
Undertaker and Kane are on a little bit. They're trying to build them up strong, but they definitely, I don't think anyone really predicted one of them really winning this. It feels like
No.
they're kind of on their own wavelength here, with Kane trying to figure out who he is without Paul Bearer, and Undertaker going back over to the dark side. But they do set up everything pretty big here on the not the go home show, the pre-show on Heat before the pay-per-view. There's a great angle that closes that out where Vince McMahon goes to the ring at the end of the show, calls out The Rock, calls out Stone Cold, calls out Shane McMahon, who has been reduced to being a referee at this point. Undertaker and Paul Bearer come out as well, and then Austin comes out, X-Pac comes out, everyone in the tournament comes out, and there's just an enormous brawl to end up Sunday Night Heat with everybody going crazy. And it ends up ending with the only person who hasn't come out yet, Kane. His lights go off, pyro hits, and he comes out and stares down the Undertaker. So they're the last 2 people we see going into the pay-per-view. So it does give them a big presence on there. But yeah, it was a cool segment right here.
It was cool, and I would have ordered this pay-per-view if I could have. Like, that was a great sell to me at the end there. But I just want to mention too, one thing I got to mention is just go back and rewind this tape or on the network. Go to this episode of Heat and listen to the pop that Steve Austin gets when he comes out. You will never hear that again, ever. If we ever hear the fans like that again, it is crazy. It just stuck out to me a lot on this show, and I don't know why, because they're in St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis is wrestling town, but maybe it's because it's the beginning of the night. Technically, it's Heat, So. Mm-hmm. But because as we'll probably point out in a few minutes here, the crowd's getting a little tired by the end of the show. Like you mentioned a couple weeks ago, now these heats are basically the pre-show, and they got all these matches on them too. I think there were 4 matches on this episode of Heat. Plus, we're going to get another 14 matches on the pay-per-view. So it's a lot of wrestling to sit through.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter that most of them are under 5 minutes too. It's just the process of going through the entrances and trying to get invested in each match and seeing these guys come out, and it wears you out, dude. It's a little bit too much of a good thing. And one of those matches on Heat, another just little interesting side note, this is the first time we ever see Bradshaw and Farouk together. They interrupt a match on here. Yeah,
they got their acolyte. Do they call them acolytes? They do call them acolytes, I think.
I don't think they call them that on this, because I know they're going to be with the Jackal at first.
That's right.
They're going to be the Jackalites before they become the Acolytes.
I forgot that, man. Jeez, yeah. Yeah, they come out, they got those weird symbols on their chest, and those matching pants now, and so, they're, we haven't mentioned them much in the paper on this Talking Taker at all in a while, so, they kind of fell out of the light and have come back together, and so they're going to play a big role in Undertaker's story going forward here. So that's why we want to drop that little nugget on you listeners. And here's their debut. So that brings us up to Survivor Series, man. Ready to talk about it?
Yeah. Speaking of nuggets, Survivor Series presented by Nestle Crunch. It's just more fun to munch.
Absolutely, it is.
Great tagline, man.
Great.
Almost as
Great
good
tagline.
as Wetter is Better, but. Not quite.
Almost.
Dude,
Not quite, though.
What are your feelings on Nestle Crunch?
Loved it as a kid. Couldn't pay me to eat one nowadays.
Couldn't pay you to eat one?
I mean, I'll take some money, I guess, but I don't really want it. You were supposed to let me go with that. That was a hyperbole. It's okay. Sure. Any of you guys listening want to pay me to eat one, I'll eat it. But I don't really care for it. There's something about the Rice Krispies in it. It doesn't click with me anymore. But as a kid, I would eat them all day.
I think it's one of the ones that works better as like a mini size, like a fun size. I
wholeheartedly disagree.
Oh, dude, I love a fun size crunch way more than a full size.
Oh man, I am the opposite. I love a full size. I do not like the small one.
You just said they couldn't pay you to eat it.
No, I'm saying if I had to pick. I mean, as a kid, I'm going back to me in 1998 here. As a kid, I would love a full size one, but not a little one. The ratio is off, man, of chocolate to Krispies in my book.
It's better as a mini.
Well, agree to disagree.
But that crunch is kind of falling off. I can't remember the last time I've had a full size crunch bar. I've had Snickers, Twix. I had a crunch bar a long time. Full size.
I probably didn't have any chest hair last time I ate one. It's been a long time.
My go-to is Kit Kat. That's gonna be my number one.
So good. So, anyway, here we are at the Kiel Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Survivor Series, November 15th, 98. So, got JR and King on commentary, and this is the first Survivor Series to not feature a traditional Survivor Series match. So,
that's right.
Every other one has, and I think 2002's doesn't either, but 2002 will have the Elimination Chamber. So, this still has a Survivor-type gimmick, just like this one does. This has a Deadly Games tournament. It still falls in line with that, but there is something. I hate when I don't have Survivor Series matches. They're just so fun, We've mentioned that time and time again as we've talked about Survivor Series. So, but anyway, one thing I want to say is this is the most, if not one of the most, if not the most sports entertainment nights in the history of professional wrestling. I mean, I think that, say what you want about the matches being short or the Russo era and the Scratch TV, but this night and the story that they told and planted the seeds, a month before, whatever, months before, is absolutely incredible to me. The way they pulled it off is so good. And I know Taker and Kane only play a small role, but I just love the story that's told during this night.
I agree 100%. This was, you could argue this is maybe Vince Russo's finest hour.
I think it is.
Finest
Absolutely.
3.5 hours. But it's so well done. It's so, and I'm sure he had a lot of help from Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and other people on the creative team. But I mean, you can see his impact, his fingerprints all over this. And it's all the best aspects of it, all the best storytelling threads going through the night. And it's one of those things, man, especially going back with all the context that we've seen and just knowing the reasons why Big Boss Man does, all the different
Yes,
things that he does
exactly.
during the night. It's like when you go back and watch Breaking Bad or go back and watch Lost after
Or
you've already
Sixth
seen
Sense.
it before, and you can see, oh, that's why I see where all this is happening now. You appreciate it
Yep.
even more the second time around watching it. And yes, there are no 5-star wrestling matches on this show. There's maybe not even any 3-star
3.
wrestling
Yeah.
matches on this show. And it's fine. It's
Yeah.
there's a story being told, and wrestling is the avenue for it. And it maybe drags the wrestling wise at some parts to it, but I was highly entertained watching this, so much more than I've been by a lot of other pay-per-views that we've watched, especially recently. The entire time, like you said, there's like 5-minute matches going through. You're on to the next thing, on to the next thing, there's no dead time on this show. They don't waste any time getting to the next thing. So yeah, it killed the live crowd, but going back and watching it,
Yeah.
it's a fun show to go back and watch through. I definitely recommend if you haven't seen it in a while. It's a really fun one to revisit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like we said, Taker and Kane are going to kick off the second round here. They are the 7th match on the card, and it is only 53 minutes into the show. That is just nuts. You'd only have 3 matches nowadays. In the 53.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
plus with all the video packages and backstage shenanigans. But yeah, here there's not a lot of backstage stuff on this episode, which Russo is famous for. But there's not a lot on this. They had no time.
They didn't. No. So yeah, do you want to recap kind of the first round real quick to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
where we get?
sure. So Mankind defeats surprise entrant Dwayne Gill. So
One of my
Dwayne
favorite Attitude Era moments. The
best friend
return
of James
Dwayne Gill.
Ellsworth. Yeah.
I loved it.
Al Snow defeats Double J. Austin defeats Boss Man. Regal and X-Pac goes to a double count out, which means that Austin's going to get a bye in the quarterfinals. Shamrock beats Goldust, and The Rock beats Boss Man again. So Boss Man's in from first the whatever the what do you call it, the Ocho finals? What's before quarterfinals?
The
Octofinals?
opening round.
How come the Octofinals?
Okay.
So, anyway, Rock beats Boss Man in probably the shortest match of all time. Although I will say The Rock and Eric Rowan may have been shorter than this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Rock's all about having some short matches. But yeah, and that's Taker and Kane get that bye. So yeah, it's weird. So but yeah, that Boss Man Rock match makes so much sense at the end of the night.
Exactly. And Rock, or Boss Man tossing Rock the nightstick later on in the night too. It all comes together. Really incredibly well done here. But yeah, Undertaker and Kane are going to kick off the second round. So Undertaker comes out first, and of course he's got Paul Bearer with him. And JR brings up a point as Kane comes out that this is the same building that Kane debuted in at the Hell in a Cell match last year. So
I thought that was cool, man. Good on him for remembering that. I can't remember that Kane had a DNA test, but he remembers that from a year ago.
that part.
But yeah, I thought it sounded familiar when I was, go back and watch it. And then when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. So, yep, Kane comes out second, which is weird. So,
and it's the standard opening to a lot of Undertaker matches that we've seen. He goes back and forth with Kane in the corner. They trade offense in the corner, and they're continuing to be each other's equals. Kane takes Undertaker down with a big boot. Undertaker sits up from that, and then they do a good bit of fighting around on the outside as well.
Oh yeah, a lot of outside fighting, and you can see Taker limping again. You mentioned a couple episodes ago that he's got that groin pull and that busted ankle back at Hell in a Cell and stuff. So you can tell him, you can see him limping here, but he drops Kane's throat over the guardrail, slams him into the stairs, and then they go back in the ring, and he has a new move here. So in the recent months we've seen a Russian leg sweep. Which, what makes it Russian? Is there a regular leg sweep?
I guess one of the Russians invented it, but yeah,
Okay.
there's got to be an American leg sweep, maybe
Yeah.
maybe a Bosnian leg sweep. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? But anyway, we've seen that. We've seen this UFC leg maneuver he's doing, and now he's got a whole new move where he kind of cranks the arm like an arm wrench, and then he just it's like a high leg lariat while he's holding Kane's arm, or like kicks him in the head. It was the craziest thing, especially if you got a groin injury. So
being back with Paul Bearer has just reinvigorated him, dude.
Absolutely. So he's kicking high in the head. So it was weird, man. But it was back and forth, and then Taker's working the leg, grapevine on the leg, and Paul Bearer is just loving seeing his son get beat up inside the ring, which is just crazy. So
Paul Bearer, the most evil man alive.
yeah,
The highlight of this past year of podcasting for me.
Oh yeah.
Taker gets that leg lock that he's been using the past few months on, holds that for a while on Kane, works over his knee. And then in my notes, I just wrote the next section of the match: punch, kick, no sell. Punch, kick, no sell. Punch, kick, no sell. Punch, kick, no sell. Just back and forth. This is not the best Undertaker and Kane match. It is not the best Undertaker match. It is not the best match I've ever seen in my life. That's what I'll say about it. A lot of punching and kicking and no selling.
Yeah, it's like when you first start playing on like No Mercy or SmackDown vs. Raw, and you don't know how to play. You start banging buttons and just punching each other. So, well, in fact, little caveat here: my son and I hooked up the Wii the other day, and I have Raw vs. SmackDown 2009. My wife got like a year ago.
Ooh.
And we started playing it. I've never played it on the Wii, except I played it with you and Jay maybe years ago.
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, my son picked Undertaker, and I picked Kane, and he beat me 3 times in a row. Which how about that? How about it? So, anyway, but you said something about not my favorite match or anything, but my favorite move in the match is when after all that punching and kicking, Kane grabs the top rope and like kangaroo hops over it.
Yeah.
He doesn't step over it. He jumps over it like a cruiserweight and it lands on the apron, and then he goes to the top rope and hits his diving clothesline, I think. Yeah.
Yep,
but
top rope clothesline, always good.
Why does he hop like that?
He's been training. He's going after the championship. He's got some.
He's unchained.
He's untethered, unchained. He doesn't know what to do.
It's crazy.
So he hits that, and then Kane also hits a choke slam and does the throat slash, much like his brother would be famous for. And this is where Paul Bearer jumps up with the distraction, distracting Kane, which allows Undertaker to hit a tombstone, one tombstone.
Yes.
And as he goes for the pin, Paul Bearer goes down outside the ring and holds Kane's legs down outside the ring for the Undertaker to get the 3 count in just over 7 minutes after one tombstone. I mean, I know Paul Bearer was holding the leg, but as we've seen here, it used to take 3 to put Kane down after a much more grueling match. And now that's it. He's out of the tournament after one tombstone.
It was that kangaroo hop, man. Took it all out of him.
It did, yeah. Wasted his energy. Brought his energy bar down.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was strange, fairly underwhelming, and I wrote this. They're, in my opinion, their worst match yet. But Taker immediately powders out of the ring and just is up the aisle way with Bear, just on to the next thing. So it's not even a big deal anymore when he beats his brother. So
no, but apparently, while they're showing the replay, JR says that Kane hit the referee with a choke slam, but they don't end up showing that to us.
Oh, okay.
He does mention that on commentary, that Kane's frustrated about it. And, it's kind of crazy, man. They've fought 4 times now, I think, and Kane has still not defeated his brother, which is wild. It's still as over and as important Kane is. Undertaker has defeated him every single time.
Yeah, the guy's number, Like I mentioned before we started recording that Kane beat Undertaker in that tag match they had, but it was like they were in collusion or cahoots or whatever, so that one we won't count that one. That one has an asterisk by it. But one-on-one, man, he can't get the job done against his older brother, which would be true about me. My brother's way bigger than me, so I would lose to him. But these guys are evenly matched, so it is kind of a shame. So we'll have to wait until 2010 to get to that.
Yes.
So.
We don't have to wait for Paul Bearer to cut a promo later on in the show, though. He just short and sweet. There's, like you said, there's not a lot of backstage stuff, but Paul Bearer cuts like a 10-second promo saying that. Never mind. I'll talk about that. We got to talk about who he's facing first. So.
Okay, yeah. So Mankind beats Al Snow and The Rock beats Ken Shamrock. So basically, that means that Rock's going to face Taker in the semifinals, and Mankind's going to face Austin. So Mankind defeats Austin when Shane actually reveals himself to be on Vince's side this whole entire time. Shane gives him the middle finger, which are blurred on the network for some reason.
What the heck?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not advocating to see them or anything, but like it's pay-per-view.
Exactly.
They showed all kind of stuff on that, so yeah, it was weird. So the next match is going to be Undertaker versus Rock. I think this is where you were headed with this comment from Paul Bearer.
Yeah, Paul Bearer does cut a quick promo backstage saying,
The only rock that my Undertaker likes is a nice piece of cold, hard granite that he carves the names of his victims on. Tonight, my phenom will walk out of this building as the WWF champion.
so not only does Undertaker make his own caskets,
Yeah.
he carves the granite for the tombstones as well. When does this guy ever sleep?
He doesn't.
Well, apparently
He'll
not.
sleep when he's dead. And he's dead, so he doesn't
He's
sleep.
always
there
dead.
you go. Exactly.
He should always be sleeping.
He should always be sleeping. by that logic. Close the show. Close the show, ladies and gentlemen. That's
turn it
over.
off. We're done.
He's
here.
asleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna have Undertaker versus Rock here. We talked about their match, on last week's episode with Rock beats him, but here we are, the first time ever on pay-per-view. So they'll have a few more encounters as we cover here on this podcast. So Taker comes out first again. So
interesting there. More interesting to me is there's some great cosplay in the crowd in the front row. There's Kane, there's Goldust, no Undertaker that I saw, but there's a dude they show him on camera a lot. He's in a chef's outfit for The Rock. Like, do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
I thought maybe
they
South
zoom
Park.
in on him like 3 times during this show. Man, I want to find that guy. I want to interview him.
Oh yeah, if we can find out who that is, please let us know. If you're listening to this, or if you are friends with that guy, let us know who the chef guy was in the front row. Yeah, man, it's cool. And I just want to say too, like The Rock is 26 years old here.
Wow,
26, dude.
This is wild.
That's crazy. Oh man, I'd almost had my first kid by then. It was nuts, man. So actually, I had my first, because he'll be 6 soon. So anyway, yeah, that's crazy. Rock is so young here to see how fast he's gonna rise, because he's only been in company for 2 years.
Exactly.
He debuted at Survivor Series 2 years ago, didn't he? 96?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
And now he's going to have his crowning moment at this Survivor Series.
Yeah, which is weird to me because Austin, started wrestling like 89, I think, and it took him, 9 years to win the title. And here's Rocky, 2 years down the road. So, yeah.
Very similar to Undertaker, who won a year after debuting as well.
Yeah.
So kind of great that they're going after each other, and they do go right after each other to start. Man, you can tell they're already kind of trying to condense things on this show because they just go right after each other. And then, of course, they go fighting outside again. Undertaker and Rock start fighting outside.
Yeah, they do. And Rock starts laying in some big-time right hands, JR says. So I'm not sure what's different between those and regular time right hands, but I don't know. But he throws Taker in the barricade, and last time these two met, like I said, Rock pinned Taker on Raw, and it's back and forth in the corners. And this match is definitely like a couple young kids playing their first game on N64, because there's so much Irish whipping and so much punching. It's like if you and I set our wives down to play a wrestling game on PlayStation. This is what match you'd get.
A lot of choking as well,
Yeah.
choking on the ground, and it's not the most well worked match. Again, this is the second match for both guys. They both Rock barely wrestled against Big Boss Man. So Rock ends up getting his arms tied up in the ropes, and Undertaker hammers him as Hebner, the referee, counts to 2 and then just stops counting at some point. I think the announcers are talking like, oh, well, they're not going to count him out. No disqualification. It's too important for that here.
Yeah, remember that, ladies and gentlemen. So, and then, Rock dumps Taker over the outside, and he hits him in the head with a bottle of water. He grabs it from the announce table, which I just wrote. It's like something you and I would have done in our matches we used to have. And we used to hit each other with a bottle of water.
Well, then Paul Bearer uses his favorite weapon, the shoe of doom. He pulls off his loafer and whacks the Rock with it while the ref is distracted with Undertaker. Signature move.
So good, man. The loafer to the face, man. And, as they're brawling outside in the people, as JR says, Hebner doesn't count them out for some reason. Again, their commentary is like gonna let it go. We're gonna let it go. No DQ and no countouts, yada yada, all stuff. So anyway, getting back after the loafer to the face, Taker misses a stinger splash, and we get this, what nowadays you'd call the yeah boo slugfest, like in the middle of the ring. But in '98, it wasn't really a thing. So all the smart marks hadn't taken to that yeah boo stuff yet. But you basically get that, and yeah, heading toward the finish from here. So
yeah. The Big Boss Man ends up making his way out to the ring yet again. We've seen him a lot during this night.
Yeah, so much.
The Rock gets his signature DDT on The Undertaker, then hits a crotch shot on The Undertaker while Earl Hebner is distracted by Paul Bearer. Then The Rock does the body slam, is going to go for the people's elbow, but Big Boss Man ends up tripping up The Rock, which allows Undertaker to take over. Undertaker nails the Big Boss Man, though, distracted by him, which lets The Rock get back up. And Undertaker holds him off with a choke, and then this allows Kane to come out.
Yeah, Taker has him by the choke for a long time. Like, I was wondering, because I didn't remember how this match ended, and I was like, why is he choking him for so long? I guess maybe because the ref is kind of out. I don't know. So, but it makes sense here because you see Kane run in, and he comes in and he choke slams. I guess Undertaker kind of tosses Rock into Kane, right? And then Rock gets a choke slam. So Rock wins by disqualification at about 8 minutes and 23 seconds. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's that.
Not a 5-star classic by any means, but again, that's the story of this pay-per-view, is every match is a piece of this greater puzzle leading to the big corporate conspiracy that we see unveiled in the main event. And Undertaker and Paul Bearer and Kane, they're all just pawns in that puzzle, pawns that Mr. Man is using in this chess match as I continue to talk about different games as we talk about the Deadly Game and mix up my metaphors. But yeah, nothing special when you take these matches out of context, but as part of the greater story, excellent storytelling.
Yeah. And yeah, again, Rock wins by DQ, which is what Hebner wouldn't ever call during the match. A DQ. It's just, and so after the match is over, Taker immediately punches Hebner in the face, and I would have too, because his officiating was absolute crap. So, then Taker and Kane brawl into the audience. Of course, it's attitude era. Got to go to the audience. And there's this. I just want to say, there's this lady, and she's rocking all denim, like denim pants, denim shirt, everything, man, and she loves Kane and Taker. She is cheering, and she's like, yeah, patting them both in the back and everything, and she's going all out for some Kane and Taker, man. She's loving them.
Well, I asked on Twitter if any one of our followers were there. That lady didn't respond, but maybe she's out there listening somewhere. Maybe it's Lou Jane.
Could be. Yeah, Lou Jane, if that's you, let us know.
Loving the fashion.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's definitely like St. Louis for sure. So
St. Louis strong.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, like you said, this entire show was one big payoff of a storyline. Again, spoiler alert if you guys don't know, The Rock wins at the end. They basically redo the Montreal screw job a year later. Vince
for the first time. We've seen it redone a million times since then. But here it was novel and interesting to see it redone.
It was. And again, on Heat, Vince had another one of his guarantees. He guaranteed this would be a Survivor Series that you will never forget. And you know what? Daggum, he's right. I'll never forget this night, this show. Really great. Again, not great matches for Taker here, but long story short, again, Rock's winning the title. He's turning heel again, and he's going to be the corporate champion. So, yeah, that's it. So
that's that for the Deadly Game. We appreciate y'all joining us and for a double trouble episode, double the pleasure, double the fun here, talking about 2 Undertaker matches in one. And next week's episode is going to be a little bit of a detour because we are currently planning. We could change things up here. Well, we haven't watched it yet, but right now the plan is to cover The Undertaker's next journey across the pond for the Capital Carnage 1998 pay-per-view, a match I've never seen, and I know probably a lot of our listeners have never seen here, a fatal 4-way match involving The Undertaker battling for the WWF title. But we said we're going to cover all of Undertaker's pay-per-views, and we don't want the UK folks to feel left out. So we're going to explore that one, review that one, see where it falls into the line of the Undertaker story. And then we'll follow that up with an episode covering In Your House Rock Bottom 1998 as we close out this huge year in the Undertaker's career. Right now we're planning on doing separate episodes for those. There's a chance we may end up combining them, but right now we'll of course let you know everything on social media, on all our Talking Taker channels. But that's the plan right now if you want to follow along with us and check out that match. And yeah, of course, we'd love for you to follow along everywhere and subscribe and join us as we keep rolling until the last ride.
Yeah, so many Undertaker puns right there. Absolutely. Did you say you had some Twitter stuff you wanted to say?
Yeah, I did. A couple guys reached out and said they were at Survivor Series 98. Nothing real, but at Doc Whiskey on Twitter, Ryan Emnett said that he was there, but main things he remembers were the Hardys being in a dark match that night, which is pretty cool, which is crazy. Another match that wasn't on Heat, a dark match. The Rock beating Big Boss Man in 4 seconds. He said he remembers a gigantic multi-row fan sign for the New Age Outlaws.
That was cool.
Of course, the big turn at the end as well. Those were his most memorable memories, which again just goes to show you that the Undertaker's matches not super memorable or exciting here, but part of the greater story. And our buddy Don Hyman was there, but he didn't tell me anything he remembered about it. Maybe he'll shout us out and let us know something we can put on the next episode. But apparently he was there too. And anyone else who was there, feel free to reach out as well.
Absolutely. If you were there a year after, a year and some change after Hell in a Cell last year, or whatever it was called. Was it called Hell in a Cell? What was it called last year?
Bad Blood.
Bad Blood. Yeah, excuse me. It's a little bit late now at night. So, anyway, if you guys were there in St. Louis, let us know. And other than that, take her easy.
Feast your eyes on this, man. You can have your pick of any one of these hoes, man. What you think?
I know what you do. Any one, I'd throw the whole group at him.
Okay, wait a minute now.
What do you mean you know what I do?
Wait a minute.
I
tell you what, man. Oh, wait, I tell you what. They say you're a dead man. I don't think everything's dead, but if it is, these girls will.
Whoa! Look out! Well, I guess the Undertaker had his answer. And now, hammering away